podcast. This is our first episode. We're very excited about it. This podcast will be pretty much me interviewing key figures within the area and discussing topics about business and this and different things going on around the area. My first guest, I'm very excited to have him. My first guest is Mitch Daniels. He is the vice president and the general manager of Alexandria Mall. Hello, Mitch. How you doing?
Hey, Tony, good to be with you. And I am honored to be the initial guest. And Tony and I have known each other for like 10 or 12 years, have worked together on various things, talked about Central Louisiana, talked about opportunities for Central Louisiana, things that are going on. And I'm excited to talk tonight about a subject that I've got some quite a bit of history in and experience in, and that is retail in general.
Yes, and that leads us into our topic: is retail back in Central Louisiana? I know, Mitch. You mentioned briefly about your experience in retail. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I guess. Thank you, Tony. Probably got it's over 45 years. I've stopped
Wow.
counting. Stopped counting. At that, I initially went to college. I got a degree in psychology, and I was working part time at a store named Kmart, which was the big gun pre Walmart, and I decided to go into retail instead of into the psychology field. And I've been I was a store manager for Kmart for 20 years. I worked for Office Depot in management. I had a lawn care and landscaping company, which wasn't in retail. That was my break from the madness. And then I began working at the Alexandria Mall in 2006 in a leasing capacity, became the general manager in 2008. And I've been managing the mall since then, except for 1 year where I went and with some other people from my church, we opened a restaurant, which in retail, I'm including food and beverage and entertainment, Tony, and as part of what we typically view as retail or retail type services in Alexandria, Central Louisiana, or anywhere we go. The question that's posed here is retail back in Cenla. And, I thought about it. Tony gave me the questions in advance. And, is he talking about his retail back from COVID? Is he talking about his retail back, in general? I would say I can answer all of those. But from COVID, I would say, yes, we are back. I don't think that the pandemic that we had is really affecting retail. It's not affecting restaurants or anything like that. I think that people that want to go out and buy things in stores or eat in restaurants or participate in entertainment activities, that they're back on track from that. Retail in general, and I currently manage the Alexandria Mall, and that's a whole, segment of the retail industry. Is malls in general became popular in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s. They were big before the internet and online shopping has really changed the dynamics and changed the volume of retail that's done there. There's still a lot of retail that's done in brick and mortar stores, as we all know, but definitely the online shopping has changed everything. Generationally, my generation, I'd just like to, if I could, Tony, go through generationally how retail is viewed. And I think sometimes that gives us a perspective on how different people view it. We tend to interact and talk and even think like people that are from our same generation, our same demographic, etc. Baby boomers, which I'm a part of, but I don't think I'm reflective of that generation, grew up with brick and mortar shopping, and definitely are doing some online shopping now, but tend to do probably a lot of brick and mortar shopping. Although at the state of life that we're in, we're not buying a whole lot of stuff. Okay, we're not big consumers of retail items, clothing, etc. You know, we might be buying some things from hardware stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, and buying some food and certainly grocery. But we're not big consumers of cutting edge retail or retail entertainment. Coming down from the boomers who are, of course, dying off, and there's becoming less and less of us as we age out. We had Generation X, which grew up, with on the last of the great hoorah of malls in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and now they have those memories, Tony, of when malls were sexy, exciting, and were the main place that we would go to buy things, other than the big box discount stores. So now that malls are not that, they're kind of bummed out, to be honest. The
Right.
Generation X is, their outlook is, the good old days have passed us by, and I just don't understand why we can't go back there. Underneath them, we have your generation, which, Tony, is reflective of the millennials, and the millennials, as we know, are one of the most populous generations now. And I think you guys grew up and saw the big decline of brick and mortar shopping and the big increase of technology and online shopping. So
Right.
your
Right.
generation is kind of like, and what's the use of brick and mortar shopping? And if it's more convenient for me and I can get the same things, then I'm okay with online shopping.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Cause me as a teenager and as a kid, I definitely was in the malls that was busy. Everybody was shoulder to shoulder. But as I went to college and got out of college, it was a mass difference. I definitely seen that transition happen.
And so you guys are kind of in the same boat, that it's just not the same, so it's not attractive. And
Mhm.
if it's more convenient, your generation, the millennials, are now having children. You got 3 children. You're raising those children. Usually two incomes in the household. If it's a family with a husband and wife, busy lifestyle, things to make it more convenient. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Coming underneath you is like your children and the people that are in their late teens, very early 20s now, and been labeled as Generation Z, and underneath them, Generation Alpha. Generation Z, they don't have those glory days memories of malls or brick and mortar shopping. They only have what they see, which is technology, and they've seen their parents use technology to shop, and they've maybe taken them to Walmart, to grocery stores, to restaurants. But even the grocery business now is slowly transitioning into a buy online, pick up in the parking lot. Am I right? And a
Right.
lot of
Yeah,
busy,
for
a lot
sure.
of busy mothers, busy families. That's developed into their go-to routine, or just running in to get a few things to fill in between that. So the Generation Z, which again is the generation I'm talking about, that would be in high school, just out of high school. They're looking, this may be my opinion here, not based so much on my experience, because these people are so young, but they're looking for something different. They want to make a mark on the world and make the world better, rather than complaining about it and just suffering with it and dealing with it, which is kind of what a lot of the previous generations have ended up doing. They want to help one another out, and make the world better for them all. Have you seen any evidence of that?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. I have a young daughter. She's she's in the 8th grade, and I believe I told you this, but yeah, like she gets mad at me if somebody homeless and they come ask me for $1. Like she like, why you're not doing anything to help? Like
Right.
she gets very emotional about it. It's something that means a lot to her. about making things better for other people and like trying to solve problems and not create problems for sure.
And I think as I've contemplated that, they grew up where if you had a problem, if you needed to know how to do something, if you needed to know how to fix something, if you needed to know a recipe, if you needed to know where to go, if you needed navigational coordinates, it's not a big deal. You just look it
Right.
up. You put it
Yeah.
into GPS. You need to figure out how to put a cover on a light socket or whatever it is you need. You look it up on YouTube. So they believe that solutions to problems are easily available and could be immediately rectified. And I think that's part of their mentality. Would you agree?
I agree. It's crazy because if I ask them a question, I have to say you cannot get on Google and look it up. Like you need to let me. Like I ask you cannot look on Google because that's the first thing they want to do. Grab their phone and like, no, do you know this? Not if does Google know this? Do you know this? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess their view is if I have access to Google and Google knows it, then I know
like
it. And
right.
and that's just
Why
the
do
way
my
that I
brain need
live
to
it.
remember this?
Right, right. So, I think that's part of it. So, how am I tying this into retail? Is I think that they would be receptive to something new. They would be receptive to malls are not going to go back to the way they were, or retail stores are not going to go back to the way they were, but they would be open to new entertainment venues, new uses of space, and especially if it was tied in to this altruistic notion of helping one another out. I think that would be a really big draw to them, an attraction, a compelling reason for them to go somewhere or participate in something. So
Right.
anyway, I went a long way around to talk about the generations, but I did want to touch on that there are differences in the way generations view retail and view shopping, view going out, and I think for the millennials, you're of childbearing age now, right? You guys used to
Yeah.
be young, you used to be single. Now you may have put off marrying longer, but you are married, so you're going to go wherever your kids want to go or wherever you feel like you should take them.
That's a good. I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it like that. But yeah, you're
So
right. You're right.
so
Yeah.
in is retail back? I think yes, retail is back, but retail really needs for Central Louisiana and everywhere. But we live in Louisiana. We live in Central Louisiana. So for our discussions tonight, that's where we're going to concentrate. Is
Yeah.
we're going to concentrate on where we live and how we can improve where we're at.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right. And just to touch on a little bit more, a lot of people online bash this area for the state of our mall and our retail, but this is not a local thing. This is an issue actually going on around the world. It is not, and a lot of people give Alexandria and the surrounding areas a bad slack on a lot of retail stores leaving and the lack of retail stores coming in. But that's not an issue just in Central Louisiana. That's an issue worldwide. I just,
Yeah, we can. Yeah, yeah. For the demographics, that includes the number of people that we have, the population, the number of possible customers, the income level of those possible customers that we have in Central Louisiana. We have the typical national and regional stores that fit those demographics. We're not really lacking in that. We live, I think it's about 90 miles away from Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay, the Lafayette, Louisiana metro shopping demographic consists of over 500,000 people. There is only 145,000 people in Rapides Parish. You could ramp ours up to say maybe we could stretch it to 200,000. So it's a big difference in the potential customers between 200,000 and 500,000. And then
Yeah.
the next thing that you typically analyze is the average household income. Lafayette has a lot of oil field money and oil field workers, income from that, so forth. So it's higher than it is here. Our predominant workforce is blue collar. The big industries are Procter and Gamble. It's Royal Martin, Boise Cascade, and the plywood, and it's the service industries, which typically pay lower than oil field and jobs that pertain to the oil field. So, I guess for for the size that we are, we have the typical tenants that you would expect to find in a town, in an area like we have. Um, so where do we go from here? We have ideas, and maybe we each individually have ideas of what we want to see, what we would like to see. Well, somebody high income customers, they want to see some high income uh, uh, restaurants or boutiques or stores. Well, it has to be enough of customers that fit that demographic that would be able to support that, in order for something like that to prosper here. Again, we have lower wages, lower incomes, middle income demographics. So what we individually may want is a difference in what will actually succeed here and what stores would actually come here. Now we have a proliferation, maybe more than our share of Mexican restaurants here, and there's another one opening at the corner of Texas and Jackson, replacing
Right.
Fat Pat's. And
Yeah.
the first thing that a lot of people will say is, huh, just what we need, another Mexican restaurant. Well, the
Right.
fact of the matter is, yes, they keep opening, they keep doing well, and they don't keep closing. So there must be
Yeah.
something to it.
Yeah.
The price points are typically good. They typically serve alcohol, margaritas, which people enjoy that, and it's reasonably healthy and tasty. So it's something for everyone. A lot of variety, and that's why people like it. Um, so as far as what we actually think we want in our minds and what we can actually support might be two different things. And nationally, we're not national tenants. Like, there's not going to be a Costco come here. There's not going to be a Macy's come here. There's not going to be a Nordstrom's come here. There's not going to be a Kohl's even come here, because we don't have the demographics to support those. We just don't have the population. We don't have the income levels to support it. But we live here and we want to improve our quality of life. We want to improve our experiences, whether it's shopping, whether it's dining, or whether it's entertainment. And I think that we have a lot of opportunities for maybe local owners, local operators, local investors, developers to think outside of the box and really look at who we are, and then who can we bring in. I'm the manager of the mall. I don't own and operate any of the stores in the mall. It's not. We can solicit and contact various stores, various operators around the country to entice them to come here. But if they don't see a profitability, if they don't see the opportunity that we fit their business model, they're not going to come here. So we may have opportunities to take, say, a Dave and Buster's, or some that's a big entertainment complex, something like that, and then adapt it, pare it down to our location, and then it could be successful. So, one, does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jump in anytime you want here. I'm not trying to
No,
dominate the conversation.
you're flowing, and I'm loving
Okay.
it. I'm loving it. So
All
yeah.
right, cool. Well, I hope that our hope is, our prayer is, that we can change the way that we think, and thereby change our actions, our aspirations, and our activities to generate better economic conditions and situations here in central
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Yeah. So if I could just kind of clarify in my head, because now that you're talking, it is getting very deep for me, because for one, it's the population. Then two is the level of income in that population.
Mm-hmm.
All that factors in what attracts a retail store to come here.
Yeah,
So
if you have a store, a chain of stores, and they've been successful in cities A, B, and C, then you
yeah,
take what were the factors uh, in those cities that made it successful. If we're not a match, then if you were running that business, you wouldn't want to come here either. You wouldn't
yeah,
just say, "Oh, I like Alexandria because I like the sound of the name." You want to have a successful business. I think one of the things, Tony, and I made some notes on this, that we need to know who we are and we need to own up to who we are, not who we think we are or necessarily who we think we could be. In other words, having an aspiring type store, entertainment comics or something here is not going to change who we are. It can only take advantage of who we are. So we're in Louisiana. The statistics for Louisiana are the racial demographics are 57% white, 31% African American. That's for the state as a whole. Now, the African American percent for the US is only 14%. So, right off the bat, we see that Louisiana per capita has a much higher percentage of African Americans than the average state, city in the US. There are some exceptions, but by and large, we have a higher percentage racially of African Americans. So there might be some opportunities that for shopping or for catering to that demographic that we're not capturing, that we're not even considering and we're not thinking about, because quite frankly, all of the national, regional chains of stores and successful stores, they look to go into the highest level of income areas to make it easier on them. If you're
oh wow,
if you have a fast growing area outside of Dallas or outside of Orlando, Florida, and it's high income levels, they're going to rather go there than try to go to a place where the money is tight in families and struggle. Okay, so
gotcha.
we have to get something that fits our demographics. So we know it's lower income, lower population, higher percentage of minority, in our case, particularly African Americans. Now, if we drill down to the city of Alexandria, the city of Alexandria in the city limits is even different than that. It's flipped. It's 55% of African American and 37% white. So Alexandria itself is not is far different than the national average. Now, Rapides Parish, where we live, lines up with the state of Louisiana with about 57% white, 31% African American. So I think this is my opinion that we're missing a lot of opportunities in either African American operators, entrepreneurs, being able to have businesses that cater to a wider range of African Americans. Not saying it would be exclusively African American, but there are things there. So the questions are: do they have the resources? Do they have the belief that it will work? And can it cross over and not just be strictly an African American business that pertains to African American? That could possibly be successful, but of course, it would be much better if it crossed over and pertained to a white audience also.
Right, right.
Typically,
Yeah,
go ahead.
you kind of get into that can lead to a whole nother conversation. But you're the general manager at Alexandria Mall. I know you have been one that's been open to the different ideas, and you have been very open to people in my community coming to you with those ideas. and giving them a safe space to think outside the box and to try to service their area or just the area in a whole. And I appreciate that. And I think a lot of other people will appreciate that. And I think hopefully through this podcast, they'll realize that too, that there are people in the area that is open to people of color and minorities to own their own business and to give them a platform to succeed. And I think that really needs to be, if get anything out of this podcast, hopefully I, I hope my viewers get that.
Great. Well, I've been at the mall now for 16, 17 years, and it's owned by some people out of state. They're from New York. They're very pro Louisiana, pro Alexandria, but again, they live in a very different environment. And they may see initially when I started working at the mall, I think they had a different perception of these questions of who we are and what should we get and what would be successful here, as opposed to what we have now. So we do have a lot of African American local business owners in the mall now. They sell products that go to all demographics. But I think I would quite honestly, I would say 15, 16 years ago when I started, there were very few. And I think that retailers, I mean, landlords, business owners across or shopping center owners across the country were maybe hesitant because they didn't know if it would work or not, or if they would be successful. But, we have numerous businesses in the mall that have been here for years, and they're very successful. Now, retail businesses come and go, whether they're national, local, regional, it doesn't matter. If you think back to those of us that can think back to the 70s and 80s, 90s, there's many stores that's not here anymore. Like I started working for Kmart. Was at one time, Sears was the number one retailer in the U.S. Sears was. Kmart was number two.
Yeah.
Well, it's 2023. Neither one of those are around. So, things don't last forever. They do change. But I think even taking the concept that we're talking about capturing more retail services, entertainment, shopping opportunities, and eating opportunities for the African American customer in Louisiana and Central Louisiana, I think we have a big opportunity there. Another thing that we could think about is always, goes for anywhere. It's always good, Tony, to bring outside dollars from outside the region into Central Louisiana.
Yeah,
okay. So
Okay.
getting people that don't live, rather than circulating the dollar around here, bringing outside money in, and we have, the plywood industry that I spoke about, Procter and Gamble and so forth. So we do have businesses that do that. Now with e-commerce, sales taxes are collected, through Amazon or whomever, most stores, and they are credited back to the local economy now. When the internet
Okay.
first started, that was not the case.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
LSUA, he puts I can't think of the gentleman's name, but they put out it, I think, once a month, statistics on that, and it shows what tax dollars are coming back here. So that's another area of growth, is promoting e-commerce or businesses in the area that people buy stuff nationally, internationally, and the tax dollars coming back here. One of the other things that we can leverage, and I think has been talked about a lot, certainly because it's obvious, is that Alexandria is located in the center of the state.
Correct. Yeah.
Central Louisiana is named appropriately. We are in the center. So for gaining outside dollars, leveraging our central location for events, for conferences, for people coming together that need to come together in a physical location or for a reason, I think we have only scratched the surface on that, whether it be sporting events, whether it be musical events, whether it be conferences. or many more opportunities. I think that's another way that we could gain more dollars and bring more into Central Louisiana, more of a variety.
Gotcha. Man, all that is great information. When I asked the question, is retail back in Cenla, I was I noticed the uptick in big chains coming in. I know Ross came in, Five and Below came in. I think Cavaliers came in. I think now the mall I think has Michaels now. So I seen that uptick, and I was just curious to see why you think that is in this area.
Yeah, well, we'll kind of take them one by one. Ross has been around for quite some time, has been prospering for quite some time. I think the reason we have not had them earlier was that they couldn't find a suitable location. The lease came to an end for Michaels in that shopping center, and Ross is a more, um, you know, probably more of a long term play for them. So that shopping center chose to bring Ross in. Again, if you've been in Ross, if you know what we're talking about, Marshalls, it is a value retailer. It is love them, glad we got them here, but it is nothing um, outstanding to look at. It's just bargain clothing on racks in a store. Five
Right.
Below is kind of like the Dollar General for teenagers or young people. It's been
Yeah.
a sexy retailer that's expanding out there. Has done very well in the past several years, and that was an
Yes.
obvious. That was
Yeah. But
another.
my daughter, she loves it, and I love it because I get in there and we call it splurging because she can get a lot for a little bit.
There
So
you
when
go.
she
Yeah.
she wants to go shopping, I'm like, okay, let's go to Five Below. You can like fill up a bag. So
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely I see why they are very popular.
And so, with those two stores, again, you got Marshalls is next to it. That's Five Below. There is Ross. And again, all
So
those
it's
I use the
bargain
term.
retail that this uptick in bargain retail.
Yeah, we call it
Yeah,
value, maybe to make it sound a little better, value retail. So, and
values.
just
Okay, I
like
got
you said, you get a lot for your money. If
you.
you
Right.
go to Marshalls, it may be a name brand, but it used to be 60, now it's 20. It's something that most people can afford. So value retailers do well everywhere. And of course, they do well in our demographics, our working class incomes.
Right.
Michael's moving to the mall. Now, Michael's is a store that sells crafts and that kind of thing. This particular store, I've talked to the store manager, is a great store. It's one of the top 40 stores in the company. And I didn't really know much about it because I don't have children currently. But I found out that a lot of parents had to use the resources from Michael's to help their kids do projects for
School
school.
projects. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they are opening, I believe it's February 2nd. We were so glad to get them. They filled in for Bed Bath and Beyond, which was again a national retailer, had its heyday 15 so years ago. Just didn't do well. Other stores came along, took their market share, and now they're gone. So again, just because something's sexy and it's a good store now doesn't mean it's going to last forever.
Gotcha.
So I think that is doing. Boot Barn is right across in the mall parking lot, which is part of the mall um, property. Is done very well here, and they
Okay.
Western wear, work wear, boots. There's been an increase in popularity in that type of clothing and footwear. So
Gotcha.
Cavender's came in and filled in for
With the
Tuesday
Party City.
morning.
Oh, Tuesday
Party
morning.
Tuesday
They in the Party
Tuesday.
City space. Yeah.
Okay, they're in Party City.
Yeah.
And again, there was two retailers not in the mall. So it's not just the mall that's losing retailers. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. It's a cycle. They come and they go. We lost Tuesday morning and Party City. But Cavender's coming in again because Boot Barn is doing well. That type of clothing, outerwear. There's a lot of good name brands in there. Ariat, Carhartt, all that stuff.
Right.
Good quality clothing. It's not
Right.
it's not it's not low end, but it does last and it's very popular. So those chains came. I don't know if there's too many more um, out there that we don't have of the value type retailers. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's how our mall's adjusting. Okay, so here we go. How our
yeah,
mall's adjusting to the new climate. So what we're doing, and not only here but everywhere, is the space that we have is going to be repurposed and used for something else that makes sense, or that's a good use. Like the Alexandria Mall is strategically located. Um, in a great location, easy access from the highway, close to Cabrini Hospital. You got grocery, you got other big box retail all around it, a lot of parking. So, a lot of advantages that are already built in. You don't have to go and reinvent the wheel and build all those things. And we're exploring and marketing it for office, for big entertainment. The Sears box is not owned by the mall; it's still owned by Sears. That's 10 acres, which includes the parking lot and the space. That's available for lease or for sale through them, and that's a great corner, a great location that can be leveraged. So I think we've got to get the word out, and this is part of my job this year in 2024 is we've got a marketing campaign to get the word out that the vacant space at the Alexander Mall is certainly available for reuse as something else. It doesn't have to be retail. We've got a good solid retail core on the one end by the food court, but a lot of other vacant space that could be used for something else.
gotcha. So, so I know in traveling around, a lot of malls are really leaning towards the family entertainment. I think the Grapevine Mills Mall has has a pet aquarium inside of it. It has a Lego land inside of it, and that takes up a lot of space that used to be filled up by like a bunch of retail stores, but now it's like all family entertainment. I know I've seen that in a few malls. So pretty much what you're saying is that all malls are just thinking of ways of just reusing the space, as it doesn't necessarily have to be retail, but it has to be something that's conducive to that area and that location, and and the people who live in that city.
Absolutely. That's you're pretty much amen in everything that we've talked about tonight is who we are, what we can actually get that works, and then how can we be creative based on our assessment of who we are and filling in gaps of lack of
Well, I think we lost him, but I've he's back. Let me get him back in.
Hey, you back? I don't.
Yep, we back.
Okay. All right. Cool. Um, we have fun on the go. We have what's the one that's over there behind Mandarin? Um,
Like Cenla, play Cenla.
Place Cenla. We have the trampoline park in Pineville. So we have Chuck E. Cheese, which is probably the most successful
Right.
family entertainment overall. But
Yeah.
certainly have room for much more. I think our area is very sports oriented, so some things that would lean itself towards that could be successful also.
Yeah. Well, I think it's past our time. I think we were supposed to go 30 minutes. I think we ended up going out almost for 40 minutes, but that's fine. But I know you were very excited about the game tonight, LSU versus South Carolina. So who you picking? Of course you're picking LSU, right?
Well, I am an LSU fan. I lived in Louisiana for 26, 27 years. This go around, and I lived in Louisiana another stint for another 10 years. So I spent a lot of my life in Louisiana. I definitely want LSU to win tonight. It's a tough call. South Carolina has a really solid, uh, well-oiled machine type of team. Great
Right.
coach, great tradition, not having to rebuild as Kim Mulkey has been rebuilding for the past couple of years down at LSU in Baton Rouge. So they just, instead of rebuilding, they have obviously been reloading. Yes, they have some newer players that weren't on the team last year, but they didn't have to learn the system. They already knew the system. They followed in. Plus, being South Carolina, one of the top female women's basketball programs for the past 10 years, their recruits have been top notch. So
Right.
that being said, South Carolina is ranked number 1. They're undefeated. LSU's got 2 losses. They're ranked, I think, number 9. By any calculation, South Carolina should be favored. I'm going to go ahead and pick the upset and pick LSU in a very tight game. It's in the PMAC. The tickets are going for like, $1,000, $2,000 at this point. So hopefully the crowd.
Wow, that's crazy.
Hopefully the crowd can have some effect on the game, and LSU players can what I would consider overperform. One of the things to watch, Key, is LSU does not have a big player to guard Cardoza for South Carolina. I'm not sure of her height. I think she's maybe 6'10", something like that. Just really tall, length and everything. And anything Angel Reese is.
So Reese gonna have her hands full, pretty much.
She's gonna have her hands full, but LSU is they're the rock stars of women's college basketball right now. So it should be a great game to watch, and hopefully we can enjoy that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you get to the game again. I really appreciate your time, and I'm pretty sure we'll have another one of these talks again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Good night.